You know, and I'm going to wrap things up here. And I want to thank those that have watched online tonight, that have commented. I certainly will probably spend a lot of time going through those, and I'm sure some of the panelists probably will as well. But, you know, this, as we stated at the top of the hour at the beginning of this is, you know, there's been some events that have transpired in our country over the past few months that have brought this back into our conscience. But it has really been something that has been going on for decades and decades, and longer than I've been alive, longer than many people that have been alive in this room, and even, I'd say, everyone in this room. I've taken a journey these past few weeks in talking to people and having a discussion and trying to really understand what in my platform and my role I could do in this community. And I just wanted to make a couple of points before I wrap this up. You know, I came to this community the first time ever on a school bus with my football team at McCallum High School. And it was to play a playoff game against Bastrop High at Hayes High School. And this was the early 2000s. And I played on a football team in North Austin that at the time the school made up exactly what America's population kind of looked like, about 70% white, about 12% black and Hispanic, things like that. And I played on a football team where there was a lot of prejudice, there was a lot of bigots. They were flat out racist on my team. There were people that used to joke on my team about the cotton field that our practice field used to be. And when they would make little silhouettes of us playing another team, you could see the not so subtle sometimes images that they were displaying. But you know, it was North Austin, and it wasn't really blatantly in your face. It was kind of very subtle. And then when I came down here on a bus with my football team, 2 consecutive years playing our playoff game at Hayes High School, and both times I ride up on a school with those images. And at that time, still the flag and all these different things. And no, we weren't playing Hayes High School, but that was the school we were going to. And I remember very vividly on that bus as a 17-year-old young man thinking, man, I know there was racism at my high school, but this is just in your face. And I felt like it was like a scene out of Remember the Titans. And you know, 2 years in a row I had that, and then lo and behold, never knew. I would go on to go to Texas State University and then move into Kyle, and have been a resident of Kyle for 10 years now. And it's a city that I love. It's a city that has embraced me. It's a city that has given me a platform and encouraged me. And all those things, yes, are true. And there was a gentleman that spoke earlier as well about a privilege, even as a black man. I enjoy a privilege here in this city that is not typical of a black man in this city. And that's something that has really been thrown in my face these last few weeks. And after having all the struggle with my dad and going and protesting and being raised as a man to understand more than what you hear in the typical history books, now I was placed in a position where everything before that, I was seen as a black man, but now as an elected official, it's like I'm no longer a black man in many ways, and as well as realizing that privilege that I have in this city. You know, and I think about running for office in this city, and, you know, for anybody who's run for anything or gone and fundraised or anything, going up to strangers it's tough, even for the most outgoing people. But as a black man in a city where it's 5% of us, and going on knocking on doors in this city, I was scared as hell. I'm gonna tell you that. I was scared. And I would be conscious of the sun. And as the sun would come down, and being conscious that, like, I've got to hit these number of doors, but I can't be out before it gets too late. That is a true fear that I've had. And there's other fears that I've had in this community. And I say this, and I look at you, Chief Barnett. We've worked together for a long time. I respect you a great deal. I respect you a great deal as well, Cleary. And it's not an individual thing on an individual officer. I believe I know the officer you're talking about. I would vouch for his credibility and his character as well. But it's a greater thing than that, than just those individuals. And yes, we could give story after story of some great individuals, and those are important stories, and those are important for our community. But it's a larger picture of that and building that cohesion. And that's why I say, and I asked the question of you earlier, how can an officer be on the force for that long and never have that experience before? You know, and I know we could look at those individual officers, but just generally speaking, any officer, how could you go that long and not have had these experiences and not have been told and shared the things that happened that day? I think that's wonderful. I think it's a blessing that happened. But for an officer in an agency to have gone that long and not have seen that, those are the things that as a black man, even as one with privilege and a platform and a status that I have, that still make me fearful in this community. And that's real talk, Chief. And so you know, I'm glad we had this discussion. I would love to continue it on further. Once again, thank the panelists, and I thank the folks that have come here tonight. We have more people here than we typically have on any city council meeting, unless there's something of a hot button issue. We have a number of eyes online as well. It's because the community wants to talk about this. And I'm glad you have opened yourself up, Chief. Seriously, you have a big heart, and you've opened it up even more to hear from your community, and you're sitting right here today as well. And so I appreciate that. And so we can continue to do that. And exactly what you all addressed, we're all eager to continue to work to that and work together to find that and close some of these loopholes and close some of these blindness that we have that a lot of times we don't see. So I appreciate each and every one of you all. I'm going to wrap it up now because I know I could probably go on a while on this subject, and it's very difficult to sit here and listen when you want to speak up a lot. But I took this middle position for a reason, and I wanted to listen myself. I thank each and every one of you for taking your time to come here. Happy Juneteenth, everyone.